Hi, everybody. This is just a quick video to get you started on some of the thinking that we're going to be doing this week about race. And this is kind of a tricky idea, but I want to throw it out there. It's really important. And the idea that I want to suggest to you is the idea that race is socially constructed. So here's what social construction means. Social construction means that there are things that we think of as natural, as biological, but they're really not. They're really not very natural. They're really not biological. So gender is like this, right? There's like definitely a biological aspect to gender, right? Men and women have different bodies that do different things, da 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 da, right? But we tend to attach a lot of other meaning to those bodies and create this thing called gender. So when we talk about gender, we talk about sex as being this like biological thing. That's our bodies. But then gender is like all these social meanings and social values that we attach to that body, right? So we have an idea that like men like sports, right? But like, why would men specifically like, is there anything about the biology of men about having a penis that makes you like sports? Like, no, not really, right? And lots of women like sports. So like we have those stereotypes about men and women, and they don't really connect in a very logical way with biology. And the same is true with race. So we often think about race as skin color, and we kind of like imagine that we know what it is, or we feel like we know what it is, but because we feel like it's so obvious because it's skin color, and skin color maybe like means something or says something. But so here, I want you to do something. I want you to try something. Can you roll your tongue? Right? Rolling your tongue is just, Can you do that? Some people can, some people can't. I can. And my son can, but my daughter can't. Or do you have detached earlobes? Oh, I don't even, there we go. Okay, I don't need those, right? So like, are your earlobes attached to the side of your head, or are they detached, right? Some people's earlobes are attached, some people's are detached. It's just like a genetic quirk. It's kind of like eye color. And in fact, this woman called Jane Elliott did a really famous experiment where she was like a third grade teacher, and she told the children in her class that from now on, blue-eyed people were good and better than brown-eyed people. And it like totally messed her class up. You can go look it up. I didn't give you the like a video because it's creepy as hell, but you can go look it up. And it like really messed with these kids, because all of a sudden these kids that were brown eyed were like, oh my God, am I inferior? And that's a lot of what we do with race. So we base race on skin color, but there's no scientific or biological support for the idea that people with different skin colors are different in any way other than the genetic quirk of having different skin color, right? That little quirk doesn't really mean anything or say anything or come with any other attributes. And in fact, biologically speaking, there aren't different races. There's no like genetic or physiological thing that makes all Black people similar or all white people similar. There's more genetic similarity between two random people of different races than two people of the same race. So the reading that we have from Harvard, the one about the biology of race, this goes into that in a lot of detail. And you can think about like how, in a lot of ways, using skin color to try and identify people maybe like wouldn't make a lot of sense, because there's a lot of Latin people whose skin is like the same color as mine. I've done this with my students. If we were in class, I would go around and I would say like, is your skin color really that different from mine? And a lot of times, like if you're Puerto Rican, you may be really light skinned and you may have the same skin color as me, and I'm white and you're Puerto Rican, and theoretically we're like different somehow. Or if you think about somebody who's mixed, right? Why does that person count as one race or another? So for example, why does Barack Obama count as Black? His mother was white, his father was Black, his father was Kenyan, and we think of him as our first Black president, but he was half white and half Black. So what race is he if you're half and half? Right? Like, do you have like half the biology of, like, if there were some biological meaning of race, would you like have half the biology of one? And the reason why oftentimes if somebody is even a little bit black, like your great grandmother was black, but the rest of your family is white, you have light skin, but not, but like you still count as black. The reason why we do that is because of something called the one drop rule, where in the US, because we had laws about race and we had laws that gave some privileges to white people and didn't give them to black people, we needed a line for who would get those privileges and who wouldn't. And that was called the one drop rule. And that made the number of white people as small as possible so that only like the whitest of white people would get those advantages. And if you were even a little bit black, you didn't get those advantages. So this is how this idea of race gets socially constructed. We have laws that actually define it and define it in ways that are really questionable. And then we could think about how media also defines it, how we look at media and we see how people of different races are presented in media. And that also makes us understand race in different ways. So now you're going to go out and you're going to be researching this stuff and coming up with your own ideas. You're going to think about the concepts that we've talked about in class and read about, and you're going to do some research into some of the history and important ideas behind race. And you are going to try to figure this all out and put it all together. And it's really, really hard and it might not make sense. And I've been thinking about it for years and talking about it for years with people of all races, and I'm still trying to figure it out. So go out there. I really want to hear what you have to say. I'm looking forward to hearing back from you. And that is what social construction is, and that is how we're going to be talking about race.